everyone, I got a request to do a video about bipolar and work, so I'm going to talk about that for just a minute. I never dealt with mania at work because I never had a full-blown manic episode till about a year and a half ago, and I had already been a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years at that point, so I never dealt with mania at work. I probably had hypomanic periods, but like I said in some other videos, I didn't recognize what they were when I was younger, so I couldn't really say one way or the other how that affected me, but I was probably more productive during those times that I had, but I couldn't give you any specifics or anything. But I did deal with depression at work, and I worked off and on from the time I was like 18 till about 21 or so. And then around the time I was 22, I got a job at a hospital, and I started going through this really, really depressed period where I was just like suicidal, and I mean it lasted for months and months and months, and it was horrible. And it's not like, you know, you're depressed at home and then you flip a switch and you go to work and you're fine. You know, you're depressed like all the time. So I actually stopped eating almost completely because I was so depressed that I couldn't eat, and when I did eat it made me feel sick, so I didn't eat hardly at all, and I lost a lot of weight. And I remember my bosses kind of pulling me aside and asking me, "Are you alright? Because we've noticed that you've lost all this weight and, you know, we're concerned about you." And I lied and just said, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. Everything's alright." Because I didn't feel that it was appropriate to really talk to my bosses about that kind of stuff, like all the depressing stuff that was going on in my life at that time. But I did have some coworkers that were friends of mine that I was able to vent those things to, so that was nice to have that as an outlet. But as far as my work performance, I remember some days just going to work and pretty much doing almost nothing. And I worked the night shift at that job, and I frequently worked by myself, so nobody could really get on my case about not doing that much work because nobody actually saw how much work I was doing or how little work I was doing. But I remember just sitting there and being so unmotivated and so just in this deep dark hole, and I didn't even care, you know. I only went to work because I had to go to work, you know, because I needed money and everything. But it was like a really bad time for me. And eventually I came out of that depression, and I got another job in the hospital in a different department, and that actually, I think, caused me to be depressed because I worked in a couple different areas. One of them was the ER, and it was just a really fast-paced, really stressful environment. And so I think the stress kind of brought on some depressions, and I remember calling in sick to that job a lot when I first started, and I almost lost my job because I called in sick so much. And my boss really, she didn't ever ask like what was going on with me or if I was okay or anything. She was just like, "Well, you need to be here and do your job," and yada yada yada, whatever. And she really came down really hard on me. So that didn't help anything. But the depressions got better as I became more like acclimated to the work environment and became more used to the job that I was doing. The depressions became less, but I remember some days it was a struggle to get through the day because I had to deal with patients constantly. And, you know, at times I just wanted to go home and crawl into bed, and I didn't want to have to deal with anyone. So being in that environment didn't really help my bipolar any. It probably made it worse in actuality, but, yeah. So that's, you know, my extent of my work history as far as like depression goes, and like I said, never dealt with any manias at work, and just wanted to make this video since I got the request.